Hey guys, Salvador Briggman here. Welcome back to the Crowdfunding Demystified YouTube channel. And today we're talking about tips for gadgets. If you're running a Kickstarter campaign, and specifically for a gadget in the gadget design, hardware kind of category, what are some of the things that you should do to make sure you are successful? That's what I'm covering on today's YouTube video. Okay, so what do you gotta be successful if you wanna do a successful Kickstarter campaign when it comes to a technology gadget or a gizmo? Now, this category is really different from some of the other categories that are out there. If you're trying to compare it to tabletop games or music or publishing or these other ones, it's not gonna be a direct comparison. So that's really why I wanted to make a video on this. And also, a lot of the guidelines that I talk about in my book, The Kickstarter Launch Formula, available on Amazon and Audible, are applicable to the actual launch when it comes to doing a tech gadget. However, there are also some other things that I kind of wanted to add in specifically for you if you're gearing up to a launch, and that's really what I want to cover today. If it's your first time tuning in, talk about so much stuff related to crowdfunding. I hope you learn a lot in today's video. Okay, so the first thing that you should be aware of is just the upgrade in the level of creative output, I guess you could say, or high quality creatives when it comes to the tech category. So by that I mean a very good looking pitch video, great graphics, well-designed page. This is just elevated over time. You know, back in the days when I got in the industry in 2012, it was not nearly this polished, if you want to use that word, when it comes to the raw graphical assets to a campaign. So my first tip is that you want to invest in that. You want to make sure that if you're getting a video done, a pitch video, that it's punchy, you're showing different angles, you're showing different people using the product in different environments, and really that it's worth someone's time to watch this thing, and it's going to be exciting and get them interested in the product, while at the same time demonstrating those high-level benefits and the functionality behind the product. I think it's great. You can still include a little bit of a story if you want to in the video, but most of the focus should be on that product. Same thing goes with the actual campaign pages. You want to have a well-designed, well-put-together page, something that looks official, something that looks great, that looks killer, right? Something that just kind of jumps off the page, almost makes you want to buy it. So this is kind of, to me, like almost the ticket, if you will, in order to get into the marketplace nowadays. If you want to be able to gain access to tons of people, tons of backers who can support your project, the ticket to this fair, or the ticket to this adventure ride, is to make sure that you have really good video, good creative, good graphics, good photos, if you can, and it's going to make you stand just head and shoulders of other people out there that don't know what it is that they're doing. The second tip that I have for you when it comes to this category is to think about the real promise behind the product, okay? Now, every product has a promise or has an angle which is being sold under. It's very easy for you to go to browse on Kickstarter or on Indiegogo, and you can see just in the titles, in the way that the product is presented, in the backgrounds that are used, in the models that are used in the actual video, who this product is for, and the promise, right? So the way that this product actually fits into someone's life. What are you promising when someone buys this product? Who is it for? It should be readily apparent. And a lot of the times, if you're a beginning creator, you might actually kind of shy away from being so bold as to say that, right? Or so bold as to indicate that. But what ends up happening is you create a really lackluster, murky, amorphous, I don't know if that's the right word, amorphous kind of blob of a campaign that's just kind of general, and that's not really for anyone. It's actually ironic, but if you want to sell better, you should be way more specific, way more just, hitting the needle on the head, or hitting the nail on the head, and really going after the jugular when it comes to the angle of who this is for and what the promise is. And it's going to resonate a heck of a lot better than if you try to just create something that is for everyone. Now, that being said, your product could have a lot of functionality, it could have a lot of different components to it, and it could do a lot of things, but at the end of the day, you are laser sharp, locked in with who this is actual for and who the promise to that individual. The next tip that I have for you is that this is as much of a product design and I guess experiment or a validation, product validation, as it is a marketing exercise, right? So nowadays, like, e-commerce is booming, man. It is huge, it is massive. And you can see that obviously by the different stocks of Amazon and Shopify and all these Etsy, right? All the different companies that are out there. So e-commerce is huge. And the same thing is true of Kickstarter and crowdfunding. It is huge. And what that means is that whenever you have tons of people backing and buying products online, you're going to have a lot of advertisers, a lot of marketers like myself who are trying to get in front of those people. So it really pays dividends to have some kind of a marketing or an advertising strategy, and also have a budget for it, man. Like, this isn't just 2012 where you could just throw up a page, throw up a product, and you could really get it funded quite easily with a lot of organic appeal. That still does happen, that organic appeal and the marketplace itself and people really sharing and buying and wanting this product. But there's also a lot of campaigns that are investing pretty heavily in their marketing expenditure. So put aside a budget. Think a little bit about what you'd be willing to spend, or invest rather, in order to make this thing successful. And even if that's just to light a fire on this wood so it becomes a roaring bonfire over time, right? Think a little bit about that. The next tip that I have for you, and if you do nothing else, I promise you this will help you be more successful in life in general. Whether it's designing your own products or marketing your own products or creating your own business or whatever, attention to this thing that I'm about to mention will supercharge your results. And it's almost kind of like a hidden treasure or a secret tool, if you will, that's in your toolbox that just some people don't utilize. And that's make use of design. Okay, and what do I mean by that? I mean design in terms of thinking through the actual design, look and feel, the aesthetics of your product, of the campaign page, of the fonts that you're using, of the colors that you're choosing, even maybe the minimalistic looking kind of feel of the packaging, right? Design is this really interesting thing where, for example, if you go to two different houses, right? And one house has a beautiful interior design, great outdoor kind of design, and it's in the same location as the other house. One house seems way more expensive than the other house. Same thing goes if you go to a restaurant, right? And you enter a restaurant and you just see that it's really well thought out, right? And the dishes are small and nicely plated, and you have like some really nice silverware and good looking glass and that kind of stuff. The restaurant probably didn't spend necessarily that much on a glass, right? But it makes it feel as though it's a luxurious custom experience for you. It feels high class. It feels like a lot of thought went into it. And that translates to this kind of thought that a lot of people have, which is, oh, they must also put a lot of thought into their food, right? Or if it's a well-designed product, oh, they must really care about what it is that they're doing, and it's probably really good. So I think, in my own lifetime, probably like Apple is the one that stands out in my mind, who really brought design to the forefront with like hardware components and that kind of stuff. But you can do the same thing. You can inject an element of design into your brand. And by doing that, you're going to not only stand head and shoulders above other people out there, but it's actually going to make it kind of delightful just for people to look at your page, to consider buying it, and to feel good about that transaction or just about that experience of backing your campaign. The next bit of advice that I have for you is to start the campaign really before the launch date. And what do I mean by that? I mean, by doing pre-market validation, by going through a testing phase, by doing a pre-launch, right? And I obviously talk about this a lot when it comes to doing Kickstarter in general, but it is especially important for a hardware or a tech or a design product. And here is why. A lot of the times you're going to discover really important, valuable information about the customers when you actually do one of these pre-launches or when you go through a testing phase. And you're going to find out not only who resonates most with the content that you're putting out, but also the problem that they believe they have that this product solves, which promises resonate most with them. And that might actually cause you to retool and rethink sometimes the verbiage on the campaign, the copy on the campaign, the images you choose to allot when it comes to the actual different sections on the campaign, and what you choose to make at the forefront what people see first. So by kind of gathering this data ahead of time, it makes it so much easier when you're actually doing a launch. And in that way, you're getting tons of real world data, you're applying that, and then you're basically able to it's almost like testing a hypothesis, if you will, ahead of time, so that when you do unveil this to the world, there isn't as much a surprise as you might think. You're kind of helping yourself feel a little bit just less uncertain about this entire process, which, let's be honest, has lots of uncertainties that are filled with the process. So don't just go through user testing, right? Or don't just go through testing out the product. Also test out the marketing if you can, or work with someone, work with a coach like myself, or come on as a client for someone as a marketer and make them do a little bit of testing. It's gonna really pay a lot of dividends in the future. My next tip for you is to consider how this product fits into the life of the individual. So we kind of went over a little bit of that, right? With the promise. Like, what are you promising people? But I want to go even a layer deeper with this point. And the reason why this is so gosh darn important is that a lot of the times when people are buying a tech or design product, it's not something that they need, right? It's not really something that they're going to die if they don't have, right? Or it's not going to something that they absolutely have to have, or they're not going to meet those Maslow hierarchy of needs of food, water, shelter, safety, right? It's not one of those kinds of products. It's more of like I want this thing. Give me this. This looks so cool, right? And when it comes to generating that reaction, right? That feeling of like, I want this thing, you really want to think about the story and specifically, how does that product fit into the life of the individual? Now, what do I mean by that? Let's just say like you invented a new travel bag, and this is for urban industrials who also love to go camping or they love to go to the beach or something like that. The easiest way to communicate that, besides just saying that, like, hey, this is for this is for that, you really want to try and show it. And the way you're going to show that is with your photography, is with the content that you're choosing to share, for example, on Instagram, with the video stills and the gifts that you have. And you're almost selling the product by just seducing someone into believing that this product can actually play a place in their home, or that this can have a role in their life, and that they are the type of person, this guy with the jean jacket, right? This hipster with the jean jacket, that he would be willing, it looks great when he's carrying it down the street, or he's going skateboarding with this on his back, or it's really cool looking when he's working in a cafe and this is right next to him on the little, chair or whatever. Like, that is what you're trying to sell. You're trying to sell that vision of someone in the future. And the way you do that is by, number one, the character or the individual who is in that photo or that video, so the model, if you will. Number two, the background, where is this being taken, and also that individual and kind of who they're looking to become, really their identity, if that makes sense. Want to take all the stress out of fulfilling your Kickstarter rewards? Fulfillrite is the turnkey solution that puts product delivery on autopilot. The Top Campaigns uses trusted high-tech provider to store, package, and ship their products. Focus on growing your business. Leave shipping to the experts. Don't wait. Get a custom quote from Fulfillrite today. Link in the description. The next tip I'm going to have for you is actually more in line with the sponsor of the YouTube video, which is Fulfillrite. And this has more into play, I'd say, with the actual logistics of the campaign. So when you're doing the logistical component, think a little bit about shipping. And by that, I mean like shipping rates will change over time. So a lot of the times there are delays, let's be honest, when it comes to a hardware or a physical product. Not always is it just like print on demand, ready to go in a month or 2 months or 3 months. Sometimes there are delays. Sometimes there are changes in input costs. If the product is made of steel, right, or aluminum, or it's made of rubber or whatever, these prices can fluctuate over time, right? And this is really just supply chain management, right? And supply chain management, understanding how those different variable fluctuations are going to impact the profitability of what it is that you're doing now. So let's just say, for example, that you just finished the campaign and you have a bunch of different technical snags and it doesn't ship maybe for 6 months or something like that. What if shipping rates are different then? What if the variable costs or the inputs that go into that actual product are different? What if your manufacturer, for some reason, has a slowdown, right? You have to just think a tiny bit about the logistics specifically for a hardware or a tech product, because it just does have so many different components. And a lot of the time there's also software that's involved. So you kind of want to plot this out a little bit if you can. Definitely is not for the faint of heart to do this process. If you have a project manager, it's going to be super easy or super helpful for you to get started on this. But that's going to do a few things. Number one, it's going to secure your brand name. It's going to make it so that you are delivering on time, or at least that you're communicating transparently with people, and you're just aware of like world events and things that are happening that are going to impact your supply chain, right? Number two, it's going to give you a lot more confidence, and as well, it might choose or inform different decisions you make. You might decide to collect shipping after the campaign rather than during the campaign, because you foresee that there are going to be issues that might crop up from when the campaign ends until when you actually ship this product. And number three, I think it just makes sense from a numbers perspective to be thinking a little bit about this because it can really create different projection models where like one, if I hit my goal, two, if I do super well, three, if I do really, really well, and three, if I follow Sal's advice and I just absolutely smash this thing, right? And I follow the Kickstarter launch formula, my book, and do everything right, and it goes incredibly, right? So I'm obviously teasing you like a little bit there, but what I'm saying here is like just think a bit about this, even if it's just some math that you put into like an Excel spreadsheet, or just sort of walk yourself through the different scenarios and what could happen potentially. Going to save you so much headaches in the future, particularly if you're doing a tech or design product on Kickstarter. That being said, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Give me a thumbs up if you did. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. Also, come subscribe if you want more content just like this. And as always, it would mean so much to me if you told someone about this video, if you shared it online, you just even gave me a thumbs up. It means a lot to me. It's kind of like a pat on the back. And I love putting out content like this for you guys. Give me a second also if you want to take a second to go and just go through some of the other videos that I put out there. It's really a ton of free, valuable golden nuggets that I try to compact into these videos for you. And whenever I can't fit, I usually talk about at some point on my podcast, which you can listen to the Crowdfunding Demystify podcast, and you'll get a ton more stuff just like this. I'll include a free link down below. I think I'll do that to one of my courses, and we'll see what else I can chalk up in the description that'll be useful for you. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Sal, and I will see you next time.